For this workshop, you'll need a ruler, a pen and some paper. Take your page and divide it into 4 sections. On the top of the page, write the title of the workshop. That would be Note-Taking. On the other side of the top of the page, write today's date. In the main section, on the right hand side of the page, you're going to record the key points that I'm talking about over the next 14 minutes. Remember, you're not trying to record everything. You are abbreviating and just recording the key points. Your other 2 sections, we'll explain those in further detail during the workshop. So take some time now, set up your page. If you want to use one color pen, that is fine. If you want to use more than one color, if you have a red or a green biro as well, they can be used, or highlighters, and we'll explain how to use those properly during the workshop. So take some time, set up your page and pause the video, and when you're ready you can replay the video and we'll get started. A guide to what's currently available on Moodle for note-taking. I'm just going to go into Moodle. And from my dashboard in Moodle, I'm into the Skills Center folder and the Student Toolkit. Within the Student Toolkit, there's 4 main sections. Today's notes for note-taking are in Academic Support. And we have note-taking. We have 4 main sections. This is the main section, how to take good notes, but then we have a couple of different styles. So we have the Cornell, the chart and the mind mapping or visual. I won't go through the styles in too great of a detail, or at least I might just focus a little bit more on the Cornell. But before you look at the styles of note-taking, I think it would be really important to look at the how to take good notes page in a little bit of detail. The role of note-taking. So what we're talking about here is your ability to take notes in class or while at home. A lot of your notes are being sent to you out pre-recorded, whether it be by video or pre-recorded PowerPoints. The skill of taking notes is still useful because your pre-recorded notes from your teachers are in their own words. And when it comes to revision for your exams, it's not realistic to expect yourself to be able to go through all the notes from all the year, and that's where your notes become vital, specifically for revision, and really only helpful if your notes are being taken to a good quality. They're not just about taking notes in class and shorthanding what has been said. It is a tool to help you understand the information that's been said. A couple of things that I'm going to be trying to promote students with their notes is revising their notes on a regular basis, using their notes to make mental links from the information that's been given to them, as well as simply being able to help you concentrate while studying. There is a couple of elements that I would point out. When you're taking notes, this is what you're doing. You are recording what is being said. You are not just recording it for the sake of putting it down on paper, because you already have it recorded. It's been sent to you in a PowerPoint or as a PDF. So why do you need to record it? You are putting it into your own language. You are putting it into your own form of understanding. You're adding diagrams to it. It is part of your learning process, the recording process. You are refining those notes in a way that is going to make it easier for you to revise later on. You're going to recite those notes on a regular basis, whether it's weekly, daily, weekly or monthly. And you're not just recording, you are reflecting. It is time spent reflecting on what has been said to you in the lecture. And as I say, the part of the reviewing, that hopefully you'll build up a habit of reviewing your notes regularly. So the type of ways of presenting your notes. There is basic kind of family types, and within those there's a couple of different styles. The first basic type is linear notes, and if students are taking notes in class, I would nearly guess that this is probably, or a variation of this is what students are taking. If you forget about the different sections here and just take it that the notes are being written down in almost chronological order from the start of the class to the end of the class as you're reading down. That is what I reckon a lot of students who are taking notes, that would be the way to do it. That is the most basic form of note taking, and it works as long as it's been done well. A couple of the basic things that need to be done is make sure that the top of your page is titled with the topic of the class and dated. If ideally, you should only be using one copybook per component, but if for any reason you're sharing a copybook for different components, that you're using color coding, that you're color coding your sections or color coding your tabs. And even if the copybook is only for one component, color coding is still going to be useful. Now, the way the restrictions are, you might be ordering them online, but you can order them through eSINs. That a color coding, you might be coding particular topics or key points, and that you can color code your copybook that way. So that would be a basic note taking in a linear format. The idea of structuring it like this is a little bit more advanced, and I'll go through that in a few seconds. There is an alternative, and that would be a more visual approach, almost like a brainstorm or a mind map, where the key point goes in the center, but you're branching, so you're not taking notes in chronological order as topics are delivered to you. You're branching them into family groups in terms of topics, and coming out of those are the key points in each area. As you see, color coding can be used, but also diagrams can be put in here. So this can become a very visual way. And I think that would be the one reason why I might come away from this approach and into this, is when you look at your previous notes, if you're taking notes like this and you just find it hard to re-engage with the content, maybe a more visual approach might be more suitable. In case I forget to mention it in a few minutes, the color coding should be done with purpose. You will sometimes see students using 3 colored pens, so they might use a blue pen, they might use a red, and they might use a green, and that is fantastic, and that can really work, but it only works as long as the color coding is used for purpose. Now, different people will have different purposes, but just to give you an example of what I mean, blue could mean main points. Red might mean things that need further clarification. Green might mean areas that are important for exams. So it would be important that if you choose a system like that for color coding, or whether it's using highlighters as well as colored pens, that you have a code system for the colors and that you stick to it. Sometimes what you start with at the start of the year, using red at the start of the year, the meaning of that red colour changes over from one month to the next. But what that'll end up being at the end of the year, when you revise your notes, the colour system doesn't work anymore. So having purpose to your colour coding. Okay, so there's a few tips there in terms of taking notes in class, and some symbols and abbreviations. Now there's a world of abbreviations that you could be using to shorthand. And remember, you're not trying to record every word that's said. That is already done for you in your PDFs and your PowerPoints. What you're trying to do is take out the key points and to develop a tool that helps you understand the work, understand the information as it is being delivered to you, but also developing a tool that's going to help you study later on as well. And a good way of being able to keep notes quickly in class is using abbreviations. You could use quite a lot of them, but if you're not using any at the moment, just start with a few. Take 4 or 5 from this list, or take from another list, and start building those in. And only when you are almost going into autopilot with using these particular ones, then start introducing new ones. Okay. What section about slant is specifically related to concentration in class. So it's not about developing a tool for revision, but explaining the benefit of note-taking for your concentration levels. We're not robots, and when we're in class, our concentration levels will naturally wave. They will go, or will dip in and dip out in a wave format. And if you were to say that the times in class when you are concentrating, if they're the high points in the wave, and the times when your mind wanders a little bit, that's the low point of the wave. What you're trying to do is reduce the amount of low points and keep the amount of high points as much as you can. And note-taking is a very useful tool for that. There is a few pointers about taking notes from books. That might also be useful for you now at home when you're taking notes from pre-recorded class material. And there's a few tips. Okay, as we come down, the notes from this web page, which I'll remind you again how I got here, is through the student Moodle Skill Center folder, and I clicked on the toolkit. In the toolkit, I went to academic support. There is notes there that are slightly more detailed than what I've just read through, that you can download and print out. And then we can have a look at the different styles. So you've got 3 different styles. You have your visual. On the visual page, there's just a quick little video showing you how to set up the page and a little description. The same with the chart, but I've put a little bit more information into the Cornell, and I'm just going to have a look at that. So the idea behind the Cornell system is that, well, first of all, what I haven't shown in this diagram is that you need to title the top of the page. So you're leaving a little bit of section up here to put the title of the class, the topic of what the class is about, or if you know the learning outcome of the class, that you're writing the learning outcome, and a date. Under the topic of the class, you're dividing the page into 3 more sections. Now, proportionately this is off, but this is your main section, so this probably takes up the biggest area of your page, and this is where you are taking your linear notes. So if you're not doing the Cornell system already, this is what you're doing without these 2 other additional sections. You're taking the notes of what's been said in class in a chronological order. But we're adding in 2 new sections, and by the way, this is where you would be abbreviating and shorthanding and only taking key points. You're not trying to record everything. But coming over onto the left-hand side, the volume should probably be a little bit thinner than this, but this might be where you are writing down key points, maybe takeaways or items that are very important that are mentioned that they're a possible exam topic. But you're also writing down possible questions or things that you need to act upon, that you need to follow up on, whether you need to go to the IRC or the library to find more information, or you need to go back to your teacher to ask for further clarification. So this is a call upon. It's a call upon section. Down at the very end, we have a summary section. Now, the summary can happen at 1 or 2 different times, but it is a place where you are taking the information, and rather than simply going into autopilot and recording it, here you're putting it into your own understanding and your own language. You're summarizing what just happened. When can that summary be done? Sometimes it can be hard. If in class, it's easier actually when you're at home, when you're remote learning. Once your Zoom class is over, if you're not going from one class straight into another, you have time there at home where you might spend 5 or 10 minutes summarizing what just happened and what was in that class. But when in college, when you're in the physical classrooms, you are finishing one class, and when the class is ended, you're packing your bag and you're leaving the room. It can be hard to summarize at that point. But let's say, for example, you have 3 classes in that day. I'd nearly recommend that you spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes per class at the end of that day doing a summary. So before you leave the college building, sit down for 15 minutes and go back over and summarize what happened that day. So that is helping you log the information that was said in that day from your short-term memory into your long-term memory, and it's helping you revise. It's helping you understand and revise and learn the content. So the idea is, in your note page, you're subdividing your page up. You're recording the key points. You're recording important takeaways or possible questions, and you're summarizing the content. There's a short video here. It's 3 minutes long. It is very well worth watching. I'm not going to play it now here, but you can come in and play it yourself. And as a reminder of where I've come, the Skills Center folder in Moodle, I went into the toolkit, and from the toolkit into academic support, note-taking. In note-taking, you have the key points of how to take good notes and why you'd want to be taking good notes, and then a way of finding your style. And remember, I believe the Cornell style is a very good style. It is a very good style. It might not suit everybody, and there are a few other styles that we've included here as well. Okay, thank you.